Discovered, the incredible connection between a black girl and a billionaire's mansion photo that changes everything. Maya Johnson stared at the faded family photograph she had stumbled upon, her heart racing. In it, her grandmother stood with a proud smile, arms crossed, in front of a spectacular mansion that towered like a forgotten giant over the world. Nothing in her modest neighborhood looked anything like that. Nothing in her life felt as grand. It was a small, one-story home that was filled with love but many times devoid of opportunity. All her life, Maya was encouraged to dream big, while the world around her doubted it could ever happen. What did it mean, she wondered, to dream beyond what was expected of her? As she scrutinized her grandmother's beaming face, questions boiled in her mind. Who lived in that mansion? How did her grandmother come to be there? That picture wasn't just a moment frozen in time, it was a key to something Maya couldn't yet grasp. She remembered her mother's stories of how her grandmother fought against racial injustice, yet here was a stark contrast: wealth displayed brazenly. A flicker of something ignited inside her, a determination that forced her to confront this mystery. Maya dove into research, her excitement tempered by fear. What if she learned nothing? What if the mansion held no connection to her family? And if it did, would that mean they were part of the very world that oppressed them? Every detail she learned, from the mansion's lavish history to Mr. Carter's billion-dollar empire, brought a lump to her throat. A billionaire. The term made her skin crawl. Wasn't he just another ruler of an unbalanced world? Yet, amidst her disdain, a frantic curiosity clawed at her. She couldn't let this go. Digging deeper felt like an obligation. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let us continue. Yet as she plotted her next steps, emotions battled within her. Was she really ready to confront Mr. Carter? What would she say? Each thought twisted into a tight knot in her stomach as social constructs felt as unmovable as the mansion itself. She could visualize the pristine gardens mocking her struggles. The very emptiness of it all seemed to separate her from everything she identified with: community, resilience, belonging. What if he rejected her? What if he refused to acknowledge the connection? Standing in front of that grand mansion, Maya's heart pounded. She could feel herself shrinking against the immensity of the world before her. The monumental reality of it all struck her. She wasn't just seeking truth, she was stepping into the shadows of a past that wasn't hers to bear, yet already undeniably intertwined with her identity. Opening that door felt like a gamble. Would she bridge the gap between their families? Would the wisdom of her grandmother finally shine through? Maya inhaled sharply, and in that moment, her unrelenting determination surged. It felt like the heart of her family history thrumming in her chest, begging for connection, pleading for respect. She was on the brink of a transformative journey, yet fear lingered, an unseen adversary. As she lifted her hand to knock, the weight of centuries threatened to crush her spirit, leaving one burning question to rise from the ashes: could a single voice echo across the divides of history and alter the course of their families forever? Maya's knuckles met the weathered wood of the mansion's door with a hesitant rap, each echo reverberating a mix of anxiety and aspiration within her. Standing there, she felt utterly exposed, as if the air had thickened into a palpable entity, scrutinizing her every intention. What was she hoping for? Validation? Rejection? An invitation to unravel a story that belonged to her but felt like a stranger's tale? After what felt like an eternity, the door creaked open, revealing a man who encapsulated the very essence of wealth. Mr. Carter was tall, clad in impeccably tailored attire that seemed to shimmer like the manor's opulent chandeliers. He regarded her through narrowed eyes, curiosity mingling with skepticism. "Can I help you?" he asked, a mixture of politeness and guardedness lacing his voice. Maya's pulse quickened, words danced on the tip of her tongue, but nothing emerged. The questions she had rehearsed evaporated into uncertainty. This was her moment, yet she felt both insignificant and overwhelmed. Memories of her grandmother's resilience washed over her, reminding her of the power of a single truth. "I am Maya Johnson," she stammered, desperation creeping into her tone. "I have a photograph of my grandmother standing in front of this mansion. I believe she visited. I need to talk to you about it." His expression faltered, and for a fleeting moment, she discerned a softening in his demeanor. Cryptic emotions crossed his face, but doubt quickly returned. "I don't think I'm who you're looking for," he replied dismissively. A flicker of indignation surged within Maya. Did he not realize how connected they were? "It's not about the mansion. It's about her. We share a history, one that deserves acknowledgement." Each word felt like a stone, weighted and precious, designed to break through the invisible barriers erecting themselves between them. "Lady, this isn't a good time," Mr. Carter began, but the firmness of her voice caught him off guard. "You don't get to decide when my history is worth discussing." The defiance felt exhilarating. With every word, she dismantled the fortress he had constructed around himself. The polluted air between them shimmered with the tension of conflicting narratives. Maya took a step closer, fueled by a clarity she hadn't felt until that moment. "This isn't just about wealth or privilege. It's about understanding where we come from. I'm seeking the truth about my grandmother, about our families. Aren't you curious to know how you're tied to this legacy?" For the first time, his features softened, curiosity kindling in his eyes. The haughty billionaire facade seemed to crack under the weight of her earnestness. "I don't know what you hope to find." "What I hope to find," she replied, her voice steady now, "is a chance to understand how the past threads our futures together." After a pregnant pause, he stepped aside, the door opening wider. "Come in." As she crossed the threshold, the interior of the mansion was both a marvel and a cage. The lavish decor seemed both inviting and isolating, mirroring her emotions. Each step deeper into the mansion felt like a commitment to unraveling layers of identity shrouded in time. Every corner of the space whispered secrets, beckoning her to listen closely. Sitting across from Mr. Carter in a sun-drenched parlor, the weight of her resolve enveloped her. With her grandmother's memories pulsating through her veins, Maya braced herself for what lay ahead. Unraveling their intertwined stories was only part of her quest. She needed to confront the implications, the truth that could rewrite everything she believed about herself and heritage. "Let us talk." She inhaled deeply, gathering her courage. "Let us start with the photographs." But as she began to speak, a flicker of apprehension crossed Mr. Carter's face. His gaze darkened, shadowed by an uneasy awareness. An uncomfortable tension coiled around them, hinting at revelations that could change everything. As the conversation unfolded, she would discover choices made in the past, hidden connections buried beneath layers of silence. Each revelation poised to challenge not just her understanding of her grandmother's legacy but also her perceptions of wealth, responsibility, and her own place in this vast narrative. Outside, the sky began to darken, mirroring the storm brewing within her as Maya contemplated the intertwining fates. Would the echoes of the past provide clarity, or would they shatter the fragile understanding she fought for? Each moment held the potential to transform their families forever. And as she continued, one disquieting thought flickered in her mind: what if the truth was darker than she feared? Maya took a deep breath, the air heavy with the scent of polished wood and antiquity. Mr. Carter leaned back, his expression shifting from skepticism to an unreadable mask. The atmosphere buzzed with the electricity of unasked questions. "Why do you think your grandmother came here?" He folded his arms, a defensive posture that unnerved Maya yet also challenged her resolve. "I don't know," she admitted, her voice steadier than she felt. "I just have this feeling. This house holds something important not just for you, but for me." Her heartbeat quickened, the words tumbling out before she could second-guess herself. He considered her intently, the muscles in his jaw tightening, then relaxed slightly. Do you have the photograph with you? Maya nodded, fumbling in her bag. As she handed it to him, their fingers brushed momentarily. The connection, however fleeting, sent a jolt through her. She watched closely as he examined the image, a simple black and white photograph of her grandmother standing with an elegance that seemed timeless. He looked up, disbelief flickering in his eyes. This was taken in front of the mansion, she completed, an ember of hope igniting within her. Can you tell me anything about her? About that day? His gaze drifted away, fixating on the ornate chandelier that hung above as if it served as a portal to another world. She sensed his hesitation, and in that moment, Maya understood, this wasn't about the mansion for him, but something far more profound: personal history entwined with unresolved emotions. I shouldn't be discussing this, he murmured, almost to himself. Mr. Carter, she said, the urgency creeping back into her voice. I'm not here to intrude. I need to know what she meant to you or your family. I need to understand my own roots, and maybe you do too. His eyes hardened once more. You have no context for this, Maya. There are stories that aren't meant to be unearthed. Her frustration flared, a protective instinct flaring up for her grandmother, who had fought against obscurity. Everything is connected, even if it feels buried. Isn't that what we're here to figure out? What you might have lost. Mr. Carter's expression softened again. The storm of his conflicted thoughts played out on his face. Perhaps, beneath the layers of prestige and power, he too searched for a familial connection that seemed to elude him. Look, I can't promise you anything, he began, but Maya could see the crack in his facade widening. I don't need promises. Just honesty. Reluctantly, he nodded, and she felt the ground shift beneath them. It was a small victory, yet monumental to her journey. They began exploring the photograph, the room filling with speculations and the painful tug of memories. Each detail exchanged: the flourishes on her grandmother's dress, the way the mansion stood in the background wove together a richer narrative. As they spoke, Maya grew aware of her own growth. This wasn't just about uncovering history, it was about carving her own identity from the remnants of the past. This conversation was a stepping stone into a bigger world, one where she wasn't merely a bystander, but an active participant in her story. However, as Mr. Carter began to reveal snippets of his family's history linked with her grandmother, the atmosphere shifted again. The conversation took a darker turn as he spoke of conflicts and decisions made, ones that hinted at loss and betrayal. Maya's heart raced. What do you mean by betrayals? What happened? He hesitated, gaze flickering to the shadows that danced along the walls. You might not like the answer. Some truths are too complicated to handle. But Maya felt an unyielding determination, steeling herself for whatever revelations lay ahead. I need to know. The room filled with tense silence as they faced the delicate boundary between the past and the present. This was the moment she had sought, willing to confront whatever lived in the shadows of their shared legacy. Fine, he said grudgingly, shifting in his seat. But once I begin, there's no turning back. Are you ready for that kind of truth? Maya swallowed hard, her mind racing ahead with the implications. More than ever. And with that, they began to uncover the threads that might bind them, threads intertwined in a tapestry of emotions, heritage, and secrets yet unveiled. As he recounted fragmentary, haunting histories, Maya realized this journey would challenge everything she thought she knew about herself. The revelations promised to shake the very foundation of her identity, steering her toward choices she never anticipated. Where would this newfound knowledge lead her? And what skeletons from either family line awaited unearthing in the light of those conversations? The answers loomed close, tantalizing yet unsettling. Her path forward was as uncertain as the shadows whispering around her. The grip of her past was tightening, but she was unwilling to recoil. Just as the truth began to weave itself into the narrative, Maya sensed a looming darkness, warning her of the perilous depths they were about to explore. Could she confront the possibilities, the ties and rifts that could redefine not just her understanding of her heritage but also her place in the world? And she couldn't shake the question that pressed on her mind: what if the truth shattered everything she believed about family and belonging? Maya felt the weight of anticipation pressing down like the old wooden beams encasing them. What happened? She asked again, her voice steady. Mr. Carter shifted uncomfortably, his eyes lighting with something akin to regret. Your grandmother was more than just a visitor to this house. She was involved, he began, the words hanging heavily in the air. This mansion belonged to my family, and it wasn't just a home. There are dark memories here. Maya's stomach churned as she sensed a deep-rooted conflict that was both personal and historical. Each revelation could act as a thread in the tapestry of her identity, each secret uncovered could either stitch her closer to her past or unravel it completely. What do you mean involved? Was there a relationship between your family and mine? He swallowed hard, fighting an inner war that seemed to deepen the shadows on his face. It's complicated. There was a friendship, yes, but also, betrayals, decisions made in the name of status. What kind of decisions? Her heart hammered as she pushed forward, determined to breach the wall he had built around his emotions. Mr. Carter leaned back, his posture still defensive but with a flicker of vulnerability. I can only tell you what I was told. Our families had a falling out, years before you were born. Your grandmother became an emblem, a figure both cherished and vilified. She challenged our status quo. Challenging the status quo. Maya mulled over the implications. She had always felt an innate drive to push back against expectations, to carve out her own space in a world that didn't always show her where she belonged. She wondered if that spirit had echoed through her grandmother's life. I need to know what she did, Maya declared, her voice more powerful than she intended. What cost did her friendship exact? Silence settled, heavy and thick as Mr. Carter wrestled with his thoughts. He finally exhaled. Her courage came at a price, one she paid dearly, one that still ripples through our families even now. Maya's thoughts spiraled. Could this courage have led to her own struggles? She had faced her share of rejection, not from one, but both sides of her lineage. The shadows of expectation and fear had dogged her steps throughout her life. Here lay a tapestry of rejection, power, and resilience that mirrored her own journey. Did my grandmother change anything? She asked, her voice softening as she searched his deep-set eyes for a sign of hope amidst the darkness. Our families were torn apart by her actions. But she ignited a spark of change, Mr. Carter admitted, his tone shifting from defensiveness to respect. And now maybe it is time that spark is reignited. Maybe you can do it. The unexpected suggestion struck a chord within Maya, resonating with both fear and excitement. Do what? She asked with cautious curiosity. Find the truth. Forge connections where there were once only divisions. His voice lowered, almost conspiratorial. You have the unique opportunity to not only reshape the narrative but bridge the gap between our histories. But you'll have to face the backlash. Two bloodlines aren't easily reconciled. Her heart plunged into a cage of uncertainty. Did she truly have it in her to mend what had been broken across generations? The instinct to shy away crept in, tempting her to retreat to safety. Yet, embracing this mission could lend her an identity she had spent years seeking. What if I failed? She whispered, the enormity of the task settling on her shoulders. Mr. Carter's gaze held hers firmly, wrapping her in a cocoon of resolve. Or what if you succeed? People will push against you, but history has shown that those who dare to challenge the status quo possess true power. His words struck a resonant chord within Maya. She realized that the choice rested entirely on her shoulders. She could either cower in fear or gather her strength to uncover whatever lay hidden across time and legacy. I can't do it alone, she admitted, a sense of camaraderie forming in the shared silence. I won't walk away, he affirmed, a newfound determination lighting his features. As they sat in that moment, an alliance emerging from generations of pain and misunderstanding, Maya sensed that her journey was only beginning. With every truth unraveled, she was not merely learning about her family but about herself, her own strength intertwined with the legacy of her grandmother. The past pulled at her fiercely, fraught with unresolved battles, while the future glimmered on the horizon, uncertain yet tantalizing. "What's the first step?" she asked, curiosity resonating through her voice. Mr. Carter leaned closer, pressing the truth forward with urgency. "Document everything: records, letters, any remaining artifacts. I think there are more stories hidden within these walls. Together, we'll start rewriting the narrative." That prospect thrummed through her, an existence both challenging and invigorating. But beneath it all, a question lingered. With legacies intertwined, what truths would they uncover that would redefine their understanding of family and identity? And would the revelations ignite a passion for connection or fan the flames of discord? The path ahead would demand every ounce of her strength. As she set her mind to the task, the pulse of the unknown thrummed deeply within her soul, echoing her grandmother's spirit, a spirit driven to seek the truth against all odds. As Maya stepped into the mansion's vast library, the scent of aged paper and polished wood wrapped around her like a warm blanket. Each shrouded corner held the promise of secrets waiting to be uncovered, no longer dormant but alive with history. She glanced over at Mr. Carter, who stood at her side, his expression a mixture of respect and anticipation. This was not merely a reconciliation of family facts, it was an excavation of buried truths, emotions intricately woven into the fabric of her lineage. "Let's start with the journals," he suggested, guiding her deeper into the room filled with dust-laden tomes. "Your grandmother may have left behind accounts of her thoughts and experiences. They could give context to the decisions that were made." Maya nodded, her determination grounding her as she took a deep breath. She pulled open a weathered drawer in an ornate desk, revealing a collection of journals, their spines cracked and pages yellowed. She gingerly selected one, feeling a flutter of trepidation and excitement wash over her. The first words she read were written in a bold, flowing script, reflecting a voice that echoed through time. Her grandmother's perspective on the events that had shaped their familial discord occurred to her vividly. "Courage is not simply about standing against the tide," she read aloud, her voice steady, "but about understanding the tide itself." Mr. Carter leaned closer, his eyes scanning the pages. "She was fierce," he said quietly, admiration threading his tone. "This could change how we frame the narrative." Maya's heart raced as she deciphered the content. Descriptions of countless nights spent grappling with the weight of expectations. Accounts of meetings shrouded in whispers and veiled threats. It became clear to her that the past was not simply an assortment of events, it was a living creature, capable of influencing the present. Each word was a bridge, connecting her to the woman who had faced struggles she had only glimpsed through the lens of family stories. Tension coursed through her veins. "Why didn't anyone tell me this?" she mumbled, the reality of her ignorance stinging. Betrayal engulfed her thoughts, a voice reverberating from deep within her. How had she been kept in the dark? "Because the truth is scary," Mr. Carter replied, his gaze fixed on her, waiting for her reaction to the revelations. "We protect ourselves by keeping certain histories buried. But you have the chance to change that." Change. The word lingered in the air, heavy with implication. The thought of overturning entrenched narratives ignited a fierce determination within her. This was why she couldn't back down. These truths held the power to heal rifts that felt insurmountable. "Document everything," she reminded herself, her voice barely above a whisper as she wrote down her insights in a small notebook. Each line provided clarity. She was not just the descendant of a woman who had suffered, she was part of a lineage of resilience, a family that had faced conflicts born from pride and misunderstanding. The blood coursing through her veins was imbued with a legacy of strength. Maya felt the weight of the task before her, the need to confront pain, to unveil hidden alliances, to challenge discord. She had no choice but to brave the echoes of the past for the sake of her present, her future. This exploration meant examining the deeply rooted biases that had dictated their family histories. It was time to dig deeper. But as Maya and Mr. Carter progressed through the journals, she couldn't shake the feeling that not everyone would embrace the truth. The tension of potential backlash weighed heavily on her shoulders. Her grandmother had been brave, but was she ready to confront the ghosts of her familial legacy? What if, she posed, her voice trembling slightly, when we uncover these deep-seated truths, some people want to silence us? Mr. Carter's expression hardened, each line on his face revealing an undercurrent of resolve. Then we fight back. Armed with knowledge, we cannot be subjugated by the fear of the past. A fire kindled within her, illuminating a newfound sense of purpose. She could confront reluctance not just with facts but with the undeniable power of her voice. As they moved from one journal to another, sharing thoughts and interpretations, an uneasy alliance of hope and trepidation solidified between them. With every passage uncovered, the gravity of their journey became more apparent. How many more lives have been lost or changed because of this division? She mused, the burden of discovery pressing heavily on her heart. I believe we'll find answers, and those answers will empower not only you but those who follow, Maya. His voice turned almost reverent. We are opening the door to an old battle that has the potential to reshape identities. But as excitement shimmered, questions loomed. Would she redefine their narrative, or would the family power structures they threatened to challenge spill over into dangerous territory? With the next entry beckoning for exploration, she pushed deeper into the contents of the desk. Nothing could prepare her for what lay ahead, each word promising connections and confrontations that would test her to the core. And as another dark family secret brushed against the edges of her understanding, she wondered, were her fingers running through history, or were they igniting a fuse that could never be extinguished? With resolve igniting in her chest, Maya turned her focus back to the journals, their pages beckoning like sirens in a storm. She flipped through the next volume. It felt heavier, burdened with unspoken histories. The universe around her faded, and her world narrowed to the words on the fragile pages. The writings revealed not only her grandmother's experiences but also the untold dreams of a woman who had, despite societal constraints, envisioned a life filled with passion and purpose. Life is what you make of it, the journal proclaimed with fervor. Each entry was laced with hopes, dreams, and the sobering reality of societal boundaries that sought to keep her from her dignity. Maya's fingers trembled slightly as she took it all in. The weight of her grandmother's struggles layered against her emerging understanding of her own reality was a daunting juxtaposition. She had spent far too long believing that her family history was just a collection of disappointments. Now, buoyed by her readings, she recognized that beneath that pain lay a narrative of aspiration yet to be fully explored. Have you ever felt like you were just a spectator in your own life? She asked Mr. Carter, who was now intently poring over the latest entry. Like the moments just happen, and you're on the sidelines? He looked over at her, surprise evident in his expression. Absolutely. It's common when we aren't engaged with our truths. The key is taking active steps to move from the sidelines onto the field. His response was a simple reminder that her family legacy wasn't just a story confined to these old pages, it was an ongoing journey. Here, in this mansion filled with whispers of the past, she had the chance to write a new chapter for herself. Maya stood up, stretching her back, feeling the weight of her realization coursing through her limbs. Then I need to do more than discover, I need to act. Starting with uncovering more of what has happened before me. I owe it to myself. The resolve to act shifted within her. What if she publicly shared her findings? The thought filled her with both exhilaration and trepidation. How might her family respond? Would there be backlash, or would it generate an awakening? Before she could dwell on the potential repercussions, her gaze fell upon a familiar name in the text, a name that seemed to resonate within her own family lore. With fervor, she pulled out the next journal. Listen to this, she said, excitement tightening her throat. A figure from the past, who even I have heard mentioned only in hushed tones, Charles. He was apparently pivotal. Mr. Carter straightened, intrigued. Charles. He was known to be quite influential in local business circles. The connections he had might offer insight into both your grandmother's struggles and the perpetuation of the family's myths. Maya's mind raced. Seeing this connection illuminated her next move. Maybe Charles held more than just historical significance. He could potentially serve as a bridge to unravel the narratives they sought to demystify. But as she considered the ensuing confrontations, she hesitated. Confrontation requires courage that I'm not certain I possess. Mr. Carter stepped closer, his voice steady and encouraging. Courage isn't the absence of fear, Maya. It's the commitment to act despite it. Remember your grandmother, she faced her demons head-on, just as you can. Maya absorbed the wisdom in his words, a flicker of determination igniting within her once more. The amalgamation of her grandmother's legacy, the knowledge she was unearthing, and her growing courage painted a vivid picture of what could be achieved. This wasn't merely about her identity, this was about redefining her family's narrative into one of pride and resilience. But with each step into the depths of this history came the looming shadow of consequences. What would happen when their truths surfaced? Were the power dynamics within her family too entrenched to shift? Delving deeper, Maya felt the gravity of the interconnectedness of past to present, and with it, a sense of foreboding. Mingling with hope. The next entry waited, promising even more revelations, and she wondered, would illuminating the truth be the key to emancipation, or would it incite a storm she was wholly unprepared for? The unmapped territory of her legacy lay ahead, staggering and bold. Determined, Maya whispered to herself, "Let us begin." The next day, with the first rays of sunlight streaming through her bedroom window, Maya felt a surge of anticipation. She had come to see the mansion as a crucible, transforming her from a passive reader of her family's history to an active participant in it. The decision to engage with the past weighed heavily on her mind, carrying the potential for both liberation and chaos. The choice was hers to make. As she prepared for the day, Maya's inner voice stirred with mixed emotions, a cocktail of determination and anxiety. She stood at her mirror, assessing the reflections not just of her physical self, but of the woman she was in the process of becoming. How much of her identity was still shackled by fear? She felt the ghost of her grandmother's spirit whispering through her. "You hold the power to reshape this story," Mr. Carter had said, and his words echoed in her head as she navigated through breakfast. Family members bustled around the kitchen, but she felt isolated in her thoughts, drawn to the journal like a moth to a flame. After hastily finishing her coffee, she picked up her laptop and began drafting an outline. It was time for a public revelation, a personal manifesto to encapsulate her findings and insights. She envisioned an article, perhaps even a series, detailing her grandmother's struggles and triumphs, unveiling the complexities of the family name and legacy. In doing this, Maya would not only honor her grandmother but also reclaim her own narrative. Who would read it? A voice in her head chimed in, soured by self-doubt. Who wouldn't? She retorted, her determination strengthening. With a newfound clarity, she wrote. Each word solidified her resolve. The letters felt like armor, shielding her from past disappointments and channeling her grandmother's strength. As she penned sentences about courage and connection, a thought struck her, a question echoing back to Mr. Carter's challenge. What might she uncover if she reached out to the enigmatic Charles? The man had been wrapped in family lore, but he could also act as a bridge to her history. Heart racing, she decided she needed to speak to him. He might shed light on her grandmother's path and expand on the stories that had remained in shadows for too long. But reaching out felt different, like stepping onto a tightrope without knowledge of where it would lead. Later, she pulled up a search engine, looking up socially responsible business ventures in the community. After hours of scouring photos and descriptions, one blaring headline caught her attention: Charles Whitaker's philanthropic impact on the next generation. She felt a rush of adrenaline course through her. This was the man who could elevate her quest beyond a private journey. However, with every click, the reality of actually contacting him made her pulse quicken with trepidation. What if he turned out to be someone she hoped he wasn't, or worse, dismissed her family altogether? The stakes felt high, too high, and she hesitated, fingers hovering over her keyboard. Commitment despite fear, she murmured, recalling Mr. Carter's mantra. It gave her courage to form an email, detailing her findings and the roots of her inquiry, inviting him to meet. As she hit send, exhilaration and anxiety melded in her gut. Would this connection ignite her journey or lead down dark alleyways best left unexplored? The thrill of action tickled her fingertips. With that step taken, there was no turning back. As the days turned into an agonizing wait, Maya busied herself with the relentless journals, each revelation twisting her understanding of family dynamics, illuminating cracks in the facade she had grown accustomed to. But when a reply finally arrived, a single line that held the weight of possibility, Maya's heart skipped. The message spoke of shared familial ties and an eagerness to engage. The shadow of doubt flickered, and Maya took a deep breath. The time had come to face Charles and discuss the legacy that she was now determined to redefine, a legacy that could either be her salvation or her greatest confrontation. But as the upcoming meeting loomed closer, she realized something critical. Facing her family's past demanded more than just bravery, it demanded the forging of new identities, new truths. With the echoes of her grandmother's legacy hanging overhead, Maya steeled herself for the encounter. What truths would emerge, and would she be ready to embrace them? As uncertainty swirled, Maya knew she was on the cusp of something vital, a revelation that could change everything. Maya stood in front of the mirror once more, though this time, it felt different. The weight of her decision settled onto her shoulders, an invisible cloak woven from emotions. Confidence hummed beneath the fear, a strange partnership that propelled her forward. Today was the day. The day she would meet Charles Whitaker and explore the family connections that flickered like distant starlight. As she stepped out of the house, the chill in the morning air invigorated her spirits. Each breath felt purposeful, each step a declaration of intent. She clutched her phone tightly, the screen lit up with the address she had memorized. The irony of setting foot in a mansion synonymous with generational wealth was not lost on her. This place hadn't just been a backdrop in her family's history, it represented a world both intimidating and enticing. The ride felt longer than it should have, each traffic signal extending the distance between anticipation and reality. Doubts prodded at her as she replayed the email in her head, analyzing every word, questioning every implication. What if she wasn't ready for the truths that lay ahead? But every time her mind wandered to uncertainty, the recollection of her grandmother's smile steeled her resolve. Finally, she arrived. The Whitaker mansion loomed before her, an architectural marvel surrounded by meticulously maintained gardens. The very ground seemed to hum with stories, the whispers of laughter, heartache, and triumphs echoed in her ears. Maya was here to uncover those details, to affirm her role in the legacy that had shaped not just her family but also the man standing within. Entering the estate brought a rush of conflicting sensations. It was both grand and imposing. The decor was a juxtaposition of contemporary art and classic design, echoing affluence and sophistication. Each room she walked into felt alive, but she couldn't ignore the heaviness in the air that reflected her own uncertainty. Her heart raced as she approached the designated meeting room, a space filled with light and the rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee. Charles sat at a sleek table, a figure of command and charisma. He rose to greet her, and the warmth of his smile momentarily quelled her trepidation. "Maya," he said, his voice deep and inviting. "Thank you for coming." "Thank you for having me," she replied, taking a seat across from him. The space seemed to shrink as they settled into conversation, and Maya felt every word they exchanged was a key, unlocking doors she hadn't even known were closed. As they discussed her research, she could see the flicker of recognition in his eyes, mirroring the pieces of her grandmother's life that she had unearthed. Each anecdote she shared was met with genuine interest. He challenged her perspectives, prompting her to dig deeper. The dialogue flowed effortlessly, revealing layers they had both concealed for far too long. But as the conversation delved into personal histories, a moment of vulnerability arose. Charles leaned in, scrutinizing her with an intensity that ignited old fears. "What are you most afraid of, Maya? What do you hope to find in our past?" His inquiry struck a nerve. For the first time, she articulated the chaos lurking beneath her determination. "I fear that this journey will unravel everything I've come to know about my family," she admitted, her voice steady but soft. "But I know I need to confront it. I need to reclaim my identity amid those revelations. Charles nodded, noting the weight of her confession. The past has a way of revealing more than we expect. It can either paralyze us or propel us. Your choice defines you. Maya's heart raced anew. This was more than a conversation, it was a catalyst. As they continued to talk, she could feel the invisible threads connecting her to the roots of her family tree. But with each truth uncovered, the boundaries of her identity began to shift, molding her into someone who could stand firm not just within her family's narrative but also within the broader context of her reality. As the afternoon sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows around them, Maya realized she was at a crossroads. There were still layers to uncover, complexities to navigate. The meeting with Charles was only the beginning, and she felt the exhilaration of potential course correction stretching ahead. The thought lingered like a storm cloud overhead: how many revelations would shake the very foundation of her newfound identity? Would she be able to embrace them all? As they wrapped up, Charles's next words hung in the air, a challenge and an invitation: Maya, if you're ready, there is something more you must see. It's time to explore the family archives. With a surge of curiosity and trepidation blooming within her, she felt an exhilarating pull forward, a promise of transformation accompanied by the weight of uncharted territory. What truths lay buried in the archives, and how would they reshape her understanding of both her family and herself? The next step awaited her, fraught with uncertainty and possibility. Maya hesitated before following Charles down the long corridor that led to the family archives. Each step felt like entering a new realm, layered with both excitement and dread. The heavy oak door at the end of the hallway creaked open, revealing a room that resembled a library but with the solemn weight of a sanctuary. Dust motes floated in streams of sunlight filtering through tall windows, illuminating rows upon rows of leather-bound volumes and meticulously labeled boxes. The atmosphere was thick with the cloying scent of old paper and leather, remnants of lives intertwined with myth and memory. Maya felt a strange pull toward the history contained within those walls. This was her family's story, and yet it felt like stepping into a stranger's house. Charles motioned for her to take a seat at an antique desk, lined with papers and artifacts she could scarcely process. Here, you'll find everything from personal letters to photographs, he explained, laying a few documents in front of her. These are fragments of who we are. Maya's heart fluttered as she carefully perused a tattered photograph of a young woman, her pose strikingly similar to that of her grandmother. It was unsettling and exhilarating all at once. Questions raced through her mind: had their lives intersected in ways she had yet to understand? The realization that she was a part of this larger narrative anchored her in an unfamiliar yet exhilarating sense of belonging. Do you see it? Charles prompted, leaning closer, his eyes bright with curiosity. She was full of fire, that one. A pioneer of sorts. Who is she? Maya asked, her voice trembling slightly. She wanted to know more, not just about the faces in the photographs but the intricacies of their stories. That's Clara Whitaker, my grandmother, he replied, his expression shifting from enthusiasm to vulnerability. She was an activist long before it was popular, fighting against injustices within our community. She used her voice to break down barriers. I often wonder what she would think of our current state. Maya felt an immediate connection to Clara, a spark of empowerment ignited by the struggles and triumphs shared across generations. It was a reminder that resilience ran in her blood, blending with her own experiences. But then a thought crept in: what of her own voice? What would she do with this newfound legacy? Did she ever feel lost? Maya found herself asking, surprising even herself with the vulnerability of her query. How did she handle the weight of her family legacy? Charles's brow furrowed as he considered her words carefully. I think she lived in that tension her whole life. But she always sought to reconcile her role as a Whitaker with her commitment to social change. It was a constant balancing act, much like what you're navigating now, I suspect. The weight of his words settled over her. Maya felt an echoing turmoil within herself, a familiar dance between hope and doubt. Could she reshape her own legacy in a way that honored both her history and her aspirations? For the first time, she realized it wasn't just about exploring her family's past, it was about carving out her own identity within that lineage. As she rifled through documents, Maya stumbled upon a handwritten letter from Clara addressed to her future descendants. Its eloquence resonated deeply. The letter spoke of dreams, courage, and the ongoing fight for recognition and equality. Tears pooled in her eyes as she grasped the essence of Clara's spirit echoing across time, urging Maya to be bold and unyielding. Her words are a call to action, Charles said softly, noticing her emotional reaction. They challenge us to embrace who we are, even in the face of adversity. Maya inhaled sharply, her determination solidifying. She turned her gaze toward Charles, meeting his steady gaze. I want to learn. I want to grow into this legacy. Then we'll do it together, he replied, an encouraging smile forming on his lips. You have so much more potential than you realize, Maya. Just as the gravity of his offer settled in her mind, a sudden thought pierced through her newfound confidence. What if embracing this legacy meant confronting uncomfortable truths about her family? What if certain aspects of who they were weren't as noble as Clara's ideals suggested? That sense of uncertainty renewed her anxiety. Just as she was ready to embrace this journey, the shadow of conflict loomed closer, threatening the very foundation she sought to understand. As the afternoon light began to wane, Maya sensed a shift in the air, an invitation to explore deeper, to dig further than mere archives. The weight of her lineage propelled her forward even as unease gnawed at the edges of her excitement. Charles, what else should I know? What are the dark spots that lie within our history? His expression hardened slightly, an abrupt shift in energy that signaled there were indeed secrets yet untold. Some stories need the right moment to be uncovered, he whispered, a flicker of caution threading through his tone. And sometimes, those moments come with risks. Maya's heart raced anew. What did Charles know that he wasn't sharing? The unearthing of these secrets felt like the next step into a labyrinth of complexities, each turn potentially more treacherous than the last. The path ahead suddenly felt perilous, thick with uncertainty, waiting for someone brave enough to illuminate the shadows lurking within her family's past. Could she handle the truth, no matter how it unfolded? The archives were only the beginning, and new layers awaited exploration, revelations that might shatter or strengthen the identity she so desperately sought to claim. The moment Maya stepped into the Whittaker Mansion's expansive archives, she felt the air shift around her, charged with history and potential. Rows of historical documents stood like sentinels, reminding her that she was about to delve into the complex legacy of two families intertwined by both shared aspirations and profound conflicts. As she and Charles sifted through the archives, they encountered not only photographs but also letters, meeting notes, and newspaper clippings, each one tethering them to the past with unyielding strength. The mingled sense of aged paper and polished wood enveloped her, sharpening her resolve. These were not mere artifacts, they were the lifeblood of their shared history, fragile yet potent with significance. This letter, Charles said, holding a yellowed piece of paper delicately, may change everything. It's from my great-grandfather to your grandmother's family. Maya leaned closer, her breath hitching as she read the trembling cursive outlining a once-forged alliance that had soured over time due to greed and betrayal. Her heart raced as the disquiet of familial discord struck her, but that pulse of anxiety was met with a rush of empowerment. Your grandmother knew about this tension, she murmured, glancing back at him. She fought against it in her own way. Charles nodded, a blend of regret and admiration on his face. She sought to bridge a chasm our families created, yet she faced resistance from both sides. Her voice became a weapon of resistance, one I'm beginning to realize we share. With each document they examined, Maya unearthed deeper truths about the conflict that had rippled through generations. It became undeniably clear, her familial legacy was not merely a collection of past grievances but a battleground for ideals worth fighting for. The more she discovered, the stronger her conviction grew that she must not only accept her history but integrate it into her identity. As the afternoon light softened to dusk, tinged with hues of orange and gold, Charles leaned against the shelves, contemplating their findings. What do you plan to do with this knowledge? Inspired, Maya responded with newfound clarity. I want to share our story, to talk about our legacies, both the triumphs and the failures. But I want it to be honest. Exposing the ugliness could break open pathways to healing. Charles's expression shifted to one of admiration. That's the essence of real strength. You're embracing the responsibility that comes with understanding who you are, the good and the bad. Maya's heart swelled with determination. She was paying tribute to her grandmother's legacy while actively shaping her own. Each secret they unveiled illuminated her path. She envisioned telling their story through a documentary or an article, chronicling the intertwined history of struggle, resilience, and the hope for reparation. But just as exhilaration sparked within her, an unbidden doubt crept in. What if they reject what we uncover? What if the truth isn't enough? His response was unwavering. Truth is powerful, it opens eyes and hearts. Those who resist are clinging to fear, while those who embrace it tend to evolve. Realigning herself, Maya nodded. It feels like the time for our families to step into the light, release the burden of the past, and redefine our narratives. Encouraged by her certainty, she reached for a notebook buried in the archives, eager to document their findings. This act, the commitment to affirm her voice amidst the cacophony of history, intensified under the weight of purpose. She felt the beat of her grandmother's spirit encouraging her forward. In that moment of shared vision, hours flew by as they detailed the histories, the errors alongside the achievements, affording both families an opportunity to confront their intertwined legacies directly. As they concluded their initial cataloging, the shadows danced around them as if urging them to confront the final puzzle pieces. Before we go any further, we need to have a discussion about the darker truths, Charles said, his voice becoming serious. Difficult decisions were made that still ripple through our families. Maya felt her pulse quicken. What do those ripples entail? What should I brace myself for? The weight of their shared history bore down on Charles's shoulders, his vulnerability surfacing as he prepared to unveil the complexities that could redefine her reality. We cannot ignore the fact that some actions taken made lives unravel and friendships dissolve. But rather than shying away, we need to confront them to understand how they affect us today. Maya squared her jaw, ready to embrace whatever revelations lay ahead. Let us face it together. We owe it to ourselves and to Clara. And with that, they embarked on a deeper exploration of their intertwined legacies, forging a path to reconciling the past with the present, ready to transform the complexities of their shared narratives into a powerful catalyst for hope and change. As they stepped into the role of active constructors of their legacies, Maya's spirit felt lighter, emboldened by the knowledge that she was no longer just a seeker of her history but a powerful voice replete with purpose. Embracing this profound transformation seemed merely the beginning of her journey, one that might deftly maneuver between shadows and light, igniting conversations that could foster understanding and redefine identities. With unwavering determination, Maya declared, "Let's illuminate every corner, no matter how dark. It's time to claim our stories." In that moment, the mansion, once a symbol of estrangement, transformed into a robust bastion of a new legacy, one resonating with authenticity, courage, and unyielding resolve. The echoes of the past became the lighthouses guiding her toward a dynamic future, built on the foundations of who they were and who they could become. And thus, Maya embarked on her transformative odyssey, turning uncovering history into a celebration of identity, a journey of relentless pursuit, authenticity, and the courageous reclamation of her legacy. Now, you need to subscribe to ensure you don't miss more of these incredible emotional stories. Leave a like right now to help the algorithm spread these inspiring narratives. Comment below with your thoughts and theories on Maya's journey. What do you think she'll uncover next? And don't wait even one more second to share this journey with at least 5 friends who need to experience her story. Let us spread the power of transformation together.